It's me, Vera, here to remind you that this is an adult podcast. That means we're going to deal with tough topics. Take a break if you need it, and be kind to yourself, because we sure won't be.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Crack Ground, Season 2 of Vampire the Masquerade 5th Edition podcast. As always, I am your storyteller, Mike Martin, joined by Bub, Mark, and Josh today. Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Hello.
Hey.
Heard there was a great improv scene between sessions that I have yet to listen to.
You'll enjoy that.
That sounds like your mess up, not ours.
I know, but I hear it was amazing. It was between... Yeah, so for those who don't know and want to support us, obviously, you can do so obviously by sharing the show. But if you want to go above and beyond, you can go to patreon.com/podbynight, where you can support all of our endeavors, get some fun bonuses like these little improv scenes, and obviously not spoiling the improv scene itself, but what was the improv scene around? I know what it is. Why don't you tell the people who are listening? Because I think it's hilarious.
Well, it's entitled The As Man.
Yeah, that could mean so many things.
It can, in fact. It's Vera's introduction to the world of online gaming lobbies.
It's true.
It's fantastic. You should. I'm excited to go listen to it. I've heard the Discord loving it. They were laughing a bunch about it. So yeah, it's a good way to go to support us and get some beneficial stuff for us. Obviously, we're missing Jason today. Jason is a busy man, but don't you worry. Robert is a busy kindred, and he's out doing some stuff that we'll take a look at when we start playing here. Is there anything we want to announce, talk about, or push before we move in that might be happening behind the scenes or anything?
I mean, other than we're going to have a couple weeks of your patience as we navigate convention season, everybody. So if we have a week off, just expect that it's because we couldn't get the cast together because of schedules.
Yeah, it's a good thing to put up front. We're at the end of July, but we're still in the middle of convention season. And shit is crazy. So
yes.
Yeah, there'll be some weeks where things might get crazy and we might miss it, but we're doing everything we can, and we'll be back on to a normal schedule at any time we can get ourselves together to record.
Yep.
Without further ado, then, if we're all good, we can just jump right in, set the scene, rein things in, and see what our coder has been up to. We find ourselves downstairs, deep into the basement of the hotel, where all those noises are still muted. And in a comfy coffin in bed lay Vera, actively putting herself into torpor after a rather violent encounter at where her ghoul had been staying, and their first place of safety upon arriving in the city, the small little retail shop that will become the taxidermy place for Lyle. There, a few kindred or ghouls made a strike. As this room fades into view for us, with Vera laying there, we see both Duke and Shaun, but we are lacking Max. Max, for this evening, has head out. He had gotten word of a place called the Painted Lady, and particularly of another Nosferatu by the name of Edith, but we'll take a look at that momentarily. As we stay in the hotel, we see both Duke and Shaun, I imagine, researching. So I guess that's my first question to the two of you. With Vera in the state that she is in, with a poison of some kind working her way through her system, is it the two of you, is it all hands on deck in terms of, do you jump into research? What is Shaun's first action to do something with this, and Duke's first action when dealing with this? As this is something Duke has yet to deal with really at all in his own life. A weird concoction.
So is there a matter of clarity in what Shaun, I guess, is what Duke needs to know? Is it clear that you're going to utilize some of your newfound disciplines as a... Do
you let people know? What do you do?
I'm sure Shaun begins by grabbing books alongside Duke, and then he gives up on reading because that's not his thing. But
I even maybe some from Mia's personal collection are probably within Duke's possession at this point.
Yeah, it's got to be strange texts at this point because we have never encountered anything like this. But Shaun just kind of throws down one of the books. It's like, I'm not reading that. I can fix this.
You seem oddly confident, Shaun.
I have actually had practice at this one. I'm not going to set her on fire. Okay.
Are you telling me this, or are you telling you, Shaun? your confidence is waning.
I'm
quickly.
telling you this. I mean, Vera said fix it, right?
Yes, she did.
As long as you're going to let me do it.
I would like to let you know, Shaun, that if you're going to go through with this, if it begins to fail, I will carve the portion of failure from her body.
I think I'd prefer that as much as she would. So, yeah. Right. He cracks his knuckles and stretches. Okay.
Duke's going to step away to fetch his blades.
Shaun starts very gently and carefully by kind of feeling the area that's very clearly poisoned with his fingertips and kind of tracing the line of the, I guess, blood vessel, would it be?
Yep, it's following the veins.
Yeah.
The veins of the body.
He's going to attempt flesh crafting on Vera to extract the poisoned area.
And so, for those who may not know the rules, flesh crafting, you want to kind of give a rundown as to what your abilities are using this, because we haven't seen you purposefully really use these before.
Yeah, it's essentially a version of vicissitude or body shifting, but instead of using it on himself like he has been, he's going to use it to change the shape, basically, of Vera's body and use that part of the skill to extract this poisoned area.
What is the rouse check to use, I'm imagining?
It is Resolve plus Protean, and I'm assuming Vera is not unwilling.
Yeah, she can't really move.
Well, yeah, there is...
You don't get hungry, fantastic.
I don't get hungry. And now I'm going to do...
Do you want to, before you roll, do you want to rouse again to add 2d10 to your pool?
You're so smart. You're such a generous GM. I got 2 10s in a row, so that's really good news, right?
Yep. So you had no hunger.
Fantastic.
Now you may make your roll. Well, at least you didn't roll bestial failure, so it's not. It could be worse.
It could be way worse.
And your goal is to specifically, like, how do you see Shaun attempt? Like, he's trying to pull the poison, like, separate it from like the blood in the body, with his ability, his newfound abilities.
Yeah, he's looking at the immediate area around the stab wound that's got to come out, as well as the blood vessels that have carried this as well. So he's gonna kind of, I guess, pull out kind of like a plant.
Yeah. You're looking to grab it by the root and rip it out of the veins as best you can. So we watch as, having all those rolls in, we watch as Shaun walks over after Duke steps out for a few minutes and kind of stands over Vera's body. He probably paces back and forth, traces the lines, like you said, of the veins with his fingertip, and thinks for a moment. And in that moment, you know you have the ability to control the physical form of others, including yourself. And it's not a far-fetched idea to try and pull this and separate it physically from the body if your powers work like you think they do, or at least if they have in the past. Hey, there's a shot here. And at this point, as he's tracing and he's pulling his fingers back from tracing the vein, Duke walks back in, and nothing has happened yet. And as Duke walks in, he sees Shaun kind of leaning over, and I imagine for a moment, Shaun, you just hold your hand over the veins, and after having traced them, and as you pull your hand up with the fingertip leaving the vein, as your hand lifts from the body, the vein and the skin also kind of rise within millimeters of your fingertip, pulling, almost like pulling to its max elasticity, until eventually you watch the vein itself tear from the skin, dangling in the air ever so slightly, black and oozing a thick, a viscous liquid that is certainly not kindred vitae. And as it hovers maybe 6 inches over the body, the vein, as it runs back into the body under its ribs, you haven't pulled it all the way out. You focus. You close your fists and perhaps try almost like a string to pluck away the poison, draw it out from the vein. And for a moment, it looks like success. For a moment, Duke, as you watch the vein rising out, you actually watch as he grabs it almost like 2 pieces of string with his index finger and his thumb on both hands and twists and pull. And as he pulls, you see the vein separate from this viscous liquid. But you watch as he struggles, his hands begin to shake, You can't hold it long before it snaps back and you merely have the vein dangling ahead. We see this from more of Duke's perspective, right over his shoulder, just enough to see it. And as it seemingly fails, our vision blurs as it spins around to get to the other side of Vera, looking at Shaun. And over Shaun's left shoulder, we see Father, watching. I told you we can do this. He's going to need to do it together with me. I was going to teach you how to do this stuff. You made a deal. I can save her. You can save her.
You never wanted to save her before. Just let me do it.
You don't see him. Obviously, you're probably just very focused on the vein. But we see a moment of him not smirking, but he just shrugs and keeps his mouth shut and continues to watch. Now, nothing horrible is happening, Duke. You're not seeing, he's not massacring her body or anything. He simply seems to be focusing. What do you do next, Shaun? Do you want to make it, do you make it another attempt, or do you change tactics?
Did he talk? Did Shaun just...
Good question, Shaun. Did you say that in your head, or did you say that out loud?
You probably heard him mumble.
Because you're aware at this point that Father is somewhere in between of, in your head or real. You're not even sure if it's him, but regardless.
I think with the concentration, he mumbles this.
Okay, so you probably hear him mumble something. You're welcome to make me a wits awareness, Duke, to see if you actually can hear the words, but he's mumbling to himself.
Sure.
In the process, though, Shaun, as the first attempt fails, how do you adjust, if you adjust?
I got 5 successes.
You heard him say, you heard him, you caught bits of that, but he didn't say Father or anything. He just, what'd you say, let me do this?
Yeah, you never wanted to save her, let me get on with this.
Yeah, so you probably hear something, you definitely heard the part, let me do this, and you probably heard something about saving her. Again, he's mumbling, but you heard a good chunk of it. So either he's talking to himself or he's talking to somebody. But you know he's talking.
Sure.
Shaun, what do you do? Do you change tactics or no?
Shaun's going to probably try a slightly more, because that's working, but it's not really getting the results that he wants. So he's going to try a much more arduous process of, I guess, excavating this whole corrupted vein situation, which is probably going to take longer, but it'll be easier, or hopefully.
You want to pull the whole, you're trying to see if you can get the whole thing out of the body? Is that what you're saying, the vein?
Yes. Yeah, just kind of digging his fingers in and then pulling it out that way.
Sure. I mean, I will still ask for if you want to, do you still want to use your vicissitude ability to do this? Or are you manually cutting away? Because vicissitude is going to be cleaner. It's going to be way cleaner. But if you start digging around and pulling the vein out with your hand, you're looking at a little bit more of a messy situation.
This should be... Let's stick with Protean for now.
Okay, go ahead and make me your roll.
Should I do another rouse check for that?
For vicissitude? Yeah, go ahead. Do you want to reroll? You could reroll 3 of those.
I should.
With a willpower. So yeah, you rolled 4 successes. 1 was, oh shit, you actually just regular critted. Because you rolled 2 10s, you do not messy crit. So 5, 6, 7, 8, you roll a total of 9 successes. And so there's that moment where you hear him mumble, dude. You hear him mumbling to himself. You hear what he says for the most part. You know there's a chance he's talking to whatever's in his head. You know he's hearing voices and seeing Father at this point. He hasn't kept that super secret. But after that momentary mumble, he fucking shuts up. And from Shaun's perspective, as we kind of refocus back on Shaun, Father is now no longer beside him. It's just Shaun that we see. And in that moment, you focus, and as you pull the vein that you've pulled from the body and hold it between the index and the thumb of your right hand, you use your left hand and draw a line from it, and you trace it into the body. And with a little bit of the help of vicissitude, Duke, you watch and you can hear the squelching and the tearing of the skin as he slowly pulls the entirety of the vein system that has been affected by this. And it's basically the entire right half of her body that just comes tearing out of her body with very minimal vitae bleed. With the incredible roll you made, you have complete control over what you're doing right here. And you're watching as he steps back, and almost like a maestro orchestrated, it seems like he's a master of his own craft in this moment. And you watch as the entire poisoned vein is lifted out of Vera's body, hovering probably 6 inches or so above her from shoulder down to like lower hip. And it's just kind of dangling there with little thick black ooze just sort of taunting like it's going to drip, but not quite. You have it. You don't know what to do with it, but you have it. You were able to pull it out entirely without fucking up and without causing any additional wounds to her. Now what?
Can I have a bowl?
Shake free. I'll pull some flowers out of a vase, and
yeah, so you quickly pull some flowers out of a nearby vase and brings it over to him, plops it next to Shaun.
Yeah, I make sure it's empty, and then I just fit the poison veins in there.
Oh, you want to remove the veins from her body completely? Like they're still attached to her body, and like the ends that aren't poison, you want to cut them completely free.
Well, I
thought you just drew them off. I didn't realize you're trying to rip them out completely.
Oh no! Well, I mean, if I've got them out now, it would be a lot easier to then just kind of snip them off, right? So that makes sense then. Yes.
So you pull a knife and you make your way over to the bottom of one of the veins. And you go to slice it. Duke, do you have a knife on you? Rather, I'm assuming, Shaun.
Yeah, I brought my knives.
Yeah. So with a very quick and effortless swipe, the end of one of the veins is cut. Vera taken aggravated damage. You see some thick kindred vitae beginning to ooze out of the healthy bit of the vein there. And you go to cut the other side.
Do I know that this is hurting her?
I mean, you see vitae pool up. I mean, you're removing keep in mind, like, yeah, you're dead, but you need your vein system is still what carries your vitae through your body.
Can I tie off the vein?
Yeah, you can make me a dexterity medicine check.
Yeah, can I use my proficient specialty in this? I have specialty anatomy and trauma care.
Yep, 100%. Duke quietly steps up beside you and it just immediately starts trying to stem the wound. Utter fail. You have one you could reroll if you'd like.
Sure, I don't get to do those too often. 2 successes.
Another success. So it's not nearly as precise, but as you're used to even doing yourself, Duke. But this is kind of, you didn't know what was happening. So you rush over. And yeah, within a few moments, unless Shaun stops him, you watch him as he goes over to kind of seal the wound and prevent her from bleeding any further if possible. And it seems like he does a fine job of doing so. Do we see Shaun hesitate as the first end is cut and is dangling now with the other half?
Yeah, I turn to Duke and I'm like, it seems like there might be a safer way to do this.
As the vein is already like dangling above it.
Just to finish the job.
How many more do we have to remove? He
has the entire vein system out. The issue is not necessarily can he cut it out? He can. The issue is what happens after that, because she's now missing an enormous amount of her own blood movement system in her body. It'll regrow, sure, but how long? You don't know. Could be a night, could be multiple nights.
She seemed to be taking a significant amount of damage. I can't quite determine what's happening here, Shaun.
She's bleeding a vitae out. It's not terrible, but that she's already been quite hurt. I don't know how much this will.
Would it make a difference if I lick the wounds?
No, because the wound licking only works for your specific bite, and that's it.
Could I bite the vein and then lick the wound?
Yes. That is an interesting way of moving about that. I don't know if it works on other kindred, actually. Let me check.
What does this look like in his hands? Is it just like a bowl?
It's dangling over her body, like where it was pulled from. Almost like it overlaid where it was on her body, hovering over her body by about 6 inches or so, as he's concentrating on keeping it there.
What if we were to geld?
Gelding means what again?
Basically, it's like it's the slow castration that they do to like horses or cattle, where they bind it off with like bands. If we were to keep this to a spot and then give her body an opportunity over a matter of days to heal back without causing instantaneous trauma, like right now, if we were to do like a slow banding process just to give her body a chance to kind of come back from this. Otherwise, we're like really risking it. And I, as Duke, do not want to see Vera's death here.
Yeah, I mean, as far as you don't know if that would work or not, Kindred, you don't know in game if it would work or not. But I mean, there can't be any harm in trying, I imagine. But it's hard to know because kindred heal differently. They just are, they heal very specifically through their own blood almost always. It might be better to give, like, a lot of kindred who are really hungry or in
better to give her blood as we're doing this.
Yeah, usually just feeding vitae in the process. While you're kind of throwing these ideas out, what is Shaun doing?
Shaun is just focusing on making sure that he doesn't disturb this very, very delicate system any more than he already has.
You're kind of hyper focused in the moment, just like focusing on.
All right, question, ST. If Vera is in torpor and she starts taking aggravated damage, what happens while Vera is in torpor and then someone feeds them vitae?
She would. The thing is, the body automatically attempts to heal aggravated damage, but she won't come out of torpor unless she rages or frenzies rather, or she's like actively comes out on her own.
Okay. If Duke perceives the situation that she is, with every passing slice, she was on her way to dying, Duke will give his blood to Vera. Even if it makes her mad, it's the only way that he thinks that this is going to keep her alive.
So the health is worse than the hunger. I can take a single more aggravated damage before things are going to get really, really bad. I am actually pretty low on the hunger, so I could make the rouse check for the day, knowing now that I'm not going to take the immediate aggravated from the poison.
Yeah, if you want to, you can. If you want to rouse it and try.
Did that help?
Oh, hey, I forgot about this.
Yeah, we're going to try the new thing.
I wish I could hover over numbers and just be like...
Oh, it didn't work.
What rolled?
Okay, I don't think that worked. So, that being said, I'm going to... okay. I have to rouse to wake. That would be like the come out of torpor. Then I'm going to automatically 3 more for the... Okay, so that heals me a single point of aggravated down to now 3.
So you were waking yourself up through this?
Yeah, why not? I can hear them even in torpor talking and plotting and debating. And I imagine you kind of see Vera's eyes like pop open and she just kind of glares at the two of you with glassy stone eyes. And then she sees whatever is like dangling from her side, and she will make a series of checks to just kind of like rouse the blood and maybe heal the stab wound itself, like where the knife pierced her.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. You can definitely. Yeah. You do that.
If it looks like Vera is going to do that, knowing that this is a matter of like when we wake, it rouses the blood. Is that going to cause the poison to spread?
Technically, yes, but I'm going to say with Josh's insane amount of crits, he's able to maintain its stem and maintain its flow.
Gotcha. Okay.
So she snaps her eyes open and whatnot.
It heals, and then I immediately go back into torpor.
Sure. Yeah. So she heals it. So Bub Ollie, Jesus Christ, Duke doesn't. Shaun, you're focusing, you're concentrating. You see this happen. Are you just is Shaun kind of in a moment of like, fuck, now what?
Yeah.
Internally, it doesn't have to be outwardly.
Yeah, he is. He's, I think he's just going to suggest to Duke, like, I think I can close this part off from the rest of her body so that...
Shaun, can you move it?
To where?
Could you move it to me?
I don't see how that's going to help anything, but yes.
Move the veins to him, you mean?
Move, yes. As long as you can create a new network of veins, move the poison over.
Do you want to cut it free?
If he says, if even he looks like remotely hopeful about it, Duke will start with the binding process of binding off his entire arm.
Okay, I think I see what you're doing here. And that's crazy. At this point, burning it might be easier than sacrificing whatever you're doing with your arm.
I have another arm, Shaun, and it will come back.
Maybe next time then. Let's get you hooked up.
Duke begins belting off his arm.
And as you do so, we see the belt tighten and whatnot. Our vision will cut. And we're heavily transported from the center of Chicago, much further out. Max, you were making your way out to an individual you had gotten word of. A place and a person. The person being Edith, the place being the Painted Lady. Edith herself is a relatively well-known Nosferatu here in Chicago. This is Edith, and you might feel somewhat at home with somebody who has enormous bat ears just like you. She looks extremely similar to you, one of the few Nosferatu you would actually meet here that would look similar to you. And as you make your way over to where this Painted Lady lie, it sits in Old Town, specifically one of the historical buildings over on Ogden Avenue, where the Painted Lady, which is a tattoo salon for mortal clients, underneath it all sits a large Fangs Out club, some tattoo opportunities for kindred, which requires blood magic for tattoos to be permanent, as well as a BDSM dungeon for those kindred who are a bit more seeking entertainment in that regard, I suppose. And as you make your way down the stairs through this small area, you're actually met at the front door. As you make your way into this small tattoo parlor, by the way, you would have made your way to the back, where a singular kindred, or ghoul rather, sits there. And would you approach invisibly, or would Max, as he sees the Painted Lady on Ogden Ave and steps into this little tattoo parlor that is closed to all outside observers, but for kindred, not so much. Would you make yourself visible, or would you be invisible?
Well, I'm here on a, diplomatic mission, right? So, might as well put all the cards on the table. Basically, as soon as I get out of a public area where there's not going to be worries about a masquerade breach, I'll decloak and just walk up as bold as you please.
And nobody, the individual that you see, a younger girl, maybe somewhere in her early 20s with a shaved head and just jean shorts and a t-shirt on, gives you just a casual nod as you walk over, and she reaches down. This is in the back area where they keep a lot of their tattoo equipment. And she pulls a loose piece of rug, slides it off to the side, and you see a wooden trap door. She gives it 2 hearty, loud kicks with her foot and then steps back as it creaks, as it lifts open, and you see a metal ladder that drops down about a foot or so. And as the door opens underneath, you actually see another Nosferatu, a little bit less bat-like and much more corpse-like, like most Nosferatu, at the bottom of the ladder, having opened the door and looking up, and then you looking down at him. And he just gives a chuckle and a head shake and turns, and you see like a gross like rat tail just hanging in the back of his head as it whips. And he goes, "Yeah, down here, come on." And he just walks off.
Max will turn to the girl and just say, "Thanks, kid," and follow him down.
She just gives you like a nod, but kind of keeps quiet, and you head downstairs.
Yeah.
You climb down this metal ladder onto kind of a metal grate flooring. And as you walk, following this other Nosferatu who walks basically 10 feet straight and then a door on his left, he stops to, it's an iron door as well. And you can hear like thumping club music coming from the other side loudly. As you approach, he goes, "All right, got to pat you down for weapons. No rules are no disciplines, no murder, feeding only for those who are allowed. The typical rules of Fangs Out, understood?"
Yeah. This is going to take a while. As Max pulls a variety of weaponry out from the various pockets of his coat and vest, there is, of course, the sawed-off shotgun. There's probably a bandolier of shells. He probably keeps that because, they're just shells. There is, of course... he's got a sidearm. There is a silver candlestick that's basically been wrapped into a sort of silver knuckles. He's still waiting for the ones that say "bad dog" with 2 G's written backwards.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, to get fixed. As you're like one at a time, he like gives like a sharp whistle. God damn. Are you trying to kill somebody in here tonight?
Yeah. I'm just, exercising my Second Amendment rights, right?
He just nods. He just kind of gives like a big sigh and just nods. Yeah, Dad, sure. All right. Well, is that everything?
Yep. Just me left.
He just kind of shakes his head. He turns to the metal door, and you see him slide a key in, and you hear a large lock unlock, and the door pushes inward with a creak, and all that thumping muted club music all of a sudden overwhelms you, flooding out the door and completely dominating your sense of hearing for a minute until you adjust. As you walk in, you realize you're like on the second floor of this 2-floor basement that has been clearly custom built and expanded. And you look down on a large club floor that is mixed with a bunch of kindred and kind, all mixed about. You see kindred dancing with other kindred. You see kindred feeding on kind openly among other people as other kind are kind of throwing themselves at other kindred themselves. You see some male vampire in the way back where a small hallway seems to kind of jut off from this main club area, walking, looking at a brand new tattoo that he's got from his shoulder down to his wrist. Really impressed looking. It's hard to tell what it is from this high up. But as you look down, you can tell, other than the club floor, the bar, the kitchen, and all that usual stuff, the DJ, there is a hallway that leads and shoots off from this main room that you imagine likely leads to where you're going, as there's nowhere else to go in this fucking club. And as you make your way down the stairs, a Fangs Out club, even Nosferatu will occasionally get propositioned for dancing or whatnot. And is as if Kindred come up to Max to be like, drag him on the dance floor or whatever, how would Max react to that? We've never really seen Max in a full like club situation where he wasn't looking to kill somebody quietly the entire time.
No, he's probably just if somebody comes up to try to pull him onto the dance floor, he's like, no, sorry, friend, 2 left feet. You know,
there's a bit of a disappointment, but clearly their attention is drawn to the next closest Kindred that they can try and get their hands on and drag out. And we just kind of follow over his shoulder as Max quietly but stoically moves through the crowd of Kindred and kind of like shrugging off offers until he makes his way to this hallway that isn't restricted.
He will say, as probably, shortly after they enter, just to the guy who's leading him in, all right, fella, just so you know, I'm going to need all that shit back.
He laughs. Yeah, of course, I ain't keeping this shit. I got my own.
Yeah, I get you. Oh, shit, there's this, too. He pulls the trench spike out of his boot.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I hardly ever use this. I forget I have it sometimes.
He shakes his head. Do I need to pat you down?
I mean, I've already said no to a few offers of that, so.
As you go, he literally just kind of like nonchalantly leaves you. Whether that means he's confident enough in the security of the club to deal with you if you break free, or genuinely he's a Nosferatu and he feels camaraderie with you, you don't know. Regardless, you are left to walk through. And as you make your way to the hallway, there's another security guard there that does a very quick, like, hey, let me check everything, make sure you're good. As it's very clear that this hallway leads to probably where Edith resides most of the time. As you make your way through this rather short hallway, there are 2 doors on your left and 2 doors on your right. 3 of the 4 of them are open. And upon glancing through as you're walking by, you actually see little tattoo stations for Kindred very specifically. The doors themselves have no windows, so the one that is shut, you can't see in. But the 3 that are open, you do see varying tattoo equipment kind of spread about. Now, as a Kindred, tattoos typically would end up resetting the next day. Your body tends to heal that stuff over, but with proper blood magic and whatnot, their tattoos can be made permanent, and there are some Kindred who use magic tattoos as part of their shit anyway. So it's not super out of the ordinary to see. But at the end of the hallway, there's another very kind of simple wooden door with a singular gentleman with a suit standing outside of it for security. And as you walk up, he looks to you and goes, name, and do you have an appointment?
I'm Max. Here to see Edith.
He doesn't say anything. He just turns, opens the door, and goes through it, shuts it, but like doesn't give you an opportunity to follow, and he's gone for a few minutes. After a few minutes pass, the door opens again. He doesn't walk out the door, but he stands, as he pulls the door inward, he stands in front of it, and he just nods. He kind of like tilts his head for you to walk in.
Thanks, fella.
He doesn't say anything. You walk by him, and as the door shuts, you're walking into another slightly bigger round room, where, other than the door you walked into, in the very back, there are 2 other doors that seem to lead out and away. Now, you understand that this building is not very big. Those doors likely lead out of the building, their own underground passage system, maybe even to the sewers themselves. But when you walk in, you actually see Edith. She is hard to miss. She's almost 6 feet tall. She's completely bald, very similar to you. And Max, you don't see many Nosferatu similar to you in the ways that she is. Obviously, the balding part isn't really all that similar. Many Nosferatu are like that. But it's her big bat-like ears, her more monstrous-looking bat-like features on her face, her fingers that are extended a few inches longer than they should be. They look similar to you in some regard, perhaps a shared bloodline or ancestry long ago in your kindred's past, who knows? She stands with a very simple, kind of long flowing dress and a cigarette in one of those extremely long cigarette holders. Is there a name for those fuckers, by the way? I never looked at it.
Cigarette holder.
It's called a cigarette holder.
Yeah, it works for me. And she's, and her nails themselves are painted a crimson red. And you see her having a conversation with a little girl, no more than 9 or 10 years old. And as she's done having a quick conversation, the little girl runs off to one of those back 2 doors, the one on the right, opens it, grabs a backpack that was sitting next to it and swings it over her shoulder. Wits awareness.
Wits awareness, you say?
2, and you could spend a willpower and reroll 3 if those you'd like.
You know what? Why not? This seems like it might be important.
You had 1 more success, so 3. As the little girl throws her backpack over her shoulder, just as she's about to walk out the door, you catch something sticking out of it that maybe catches you off guard. It looks like the fucking hilt of a gun. And as the door slams behind her, Edith gracefully and patiently turns to you. She sees you and motions you to walk over to, to come closer, and she actually closes the distance as well and extends a delicate hand to reach yours as she takes a drag from her cigarette. And she simply says, Edith, proprietor of the Painted Lady.
Hey there, Edith. I'm Max. What's the rumpus?
She, as you say that, she lets go of the drag as smoke fills the empty space between the two of you.
And if she's smoking, Max will immediately after that intro already be putting a cigarette in his mouth.
If you put a cigarette in your mouth, she would offer to light.
Oh, well, thanks very much.
She has one of those fancy, she has a match. She has a little matchbook nearby, and she strikes the match, and she lights it, and she smiles very pleasantly and says, it's not often that our own kind enjoy some of the more mortal sins and crutches that we once enjoyed, as she takes another drag of her cigarette.
Creature of habit, I guess that's me, huh?
She nods, and me as well, I suppose. She turns and begins to walk and gestures to one of there's little benches. And now as you are actually walking in, you actually see this room is got a few couches and a few amenities around. No electronics, no TV. But the center of the room is a tattoo parlor, her own very personal one, where she gives tattoos to those that have earned one from Edith herself. She gestures for you to sit. And she goes, as far as what the rumpus is, I guess that question is more laid in your hands.
Yeah, sorry.
You came to me.
I say that just on reflex these days.
Do you sit when she offers you a seat?
Yeah, if she offers one, he does sit down.
You sit down. She doesn't, however, but she leans kind of casually up against the couch across from you as she just looks to you in the eye with a stoic curiosity.
So, first of all, thanks for seeing me without an appointment. I know that ain't the usual protocol and whatnot.
She kind of waves that comment away as though it's no bother. I've heard whispers of the happenings in New York and Gary. Max, your name in certain circles has been heard. I'm curious to know why you come to me. You're new to the city, are you not?
Yeah. Well, a couple of reasons, I guess. First of all, I thought it was just polite to make myself known. I go to a new place, and I like to get the lay of the land, and let's face it, us, we usually got that down pat.
She nods in whole agreement.
Second of all, I'm here to extend an invite. As you probably heard, there's a hotel in town that's under new management.
Whispers of your coterie moving into the Blackstone had reached me. However, I had not heard of ownership transfer.
Yeah. Well, that's all above my pay grade, right?
She nods. An invite as and she takes a moment, meet and greet to your coterie.
Yeah. I mean, all the details are here.
He pulls a little envelope out of his vest. And
it's fancy as shit, right? Vera made these, didn't she not? Or no?
Yeah, I mean, well, she had somebody else make them, but she told them what they should look like.
Probably nice calligraphy or whatnot.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I imagine as well.
Imagine it's like a black, and it's written in gold lettering or something.
And she reaches over and with her elongated fingers and kind of pinches it between her long nails and draws it back to her. An invite to what?
A shindig.
She, one of her long nails slides under the envelope and cleanly opens it as she slides the invitation out. And I imagine it's you're invited to the Blackstone gathering.
Yes.
Yeah.
All of the above.
She gives a little,
and it would be signed the Drac Pack, not Vera.
Noted. She gives a little, I wouldn't call it chuckle, but one of the kind of noise sounds as a little bit of smoke escapes as she brings the cigarette back up. I'm flattered, and she takes a moment and puts the invitation down. I don't often leave the Painted Lady.
Yeah.
But she holds her finger up to cut you off. I would enjoy meeting this Drac Pack of yours.
Well, they want to meet you too. So, maybe our wants dovetail, like they say.
You see her taking a few beats to think on it, another draw of the cigarette, another release of the smoke as it swirls in front of our camera, before there's nothing more than a curt nod.
I'll report back and pass along your RSVP there. By the way, nice place you got here.
She looks around and just kind of, in a very humble way, kind of waves at you. It's taken many, many years to make this place my own.
I get it, believe you me. I still had my place, I thought I'd stick my head out.
She actually looks inquisitive. Do you have any artwork?
Yeah, I used to have some Jack Kirby originals, but them's all up in...
She laughs and waves, and she goes, no, I mean on your body, tattoos.
Oh, me? Yeah. I got a few before I turned. Over here on his shoulder is Captain America punching out Hitler.
She looks at that and just smiles widely. It has been a long time since I've seen. So you're... And she takes a moment and does some math. A little over 100 at least. Maybe more?
Yeah. Probably wet behind the ears from your point of view. I don't want to make assumptions.
She shakes her head. Maybe it'll surprise you, but I'm just over 150 myself.
Well, there you go.
And she lets that sit, and it's not awkward. It's almost just like a comfortable silence. You see her kind of loosen a little bit, and almost like she just knows you. But that only lasts a few seconds before she regains her composure and takes the last drag of her cigarette. Is that all then, Max, you said?
Yeah. I mean, that's what I was sent here.
Not to usher you out or anything.
No, I'm good. I should be getting back, though. I done what I was sent here to do.
Before you leave, then, I do have a question. Who is the proprietor of the Blackstone Hotel now?
Well...
From my understanding, and I've been in the city longer than you, the hotel is usually owned by an individual, never a coterie. Is the coterie the new owners?
Well, like I say, that's all above my pay grade. All I know is I can lay my head down there, right?
She nods. I suppose something you should be aware of if trouble ever finds you, and so long as you are not the trouble. The Painted Lady is a place Kindred can escape, if needed.
I appreciate that. That's mighty neighborly of you.
Hunters and lupine are more active these nights than usual.
Yeah.
I find it best to let our kind know that there is safety here.
Like I say, I appreciate it.
Yeah, she kind of, again, quietly nods, and she turns around to put out her cigarette. And it's in that moment, as she turns around, where just above the dress, you can see a bit of her neck. You can actually see right where her head meets her neck, two enormous scars where flesh seems like it was completely torn, just barely peeking over her dress. Could have been a gangrel. Maybe now you think about it, could have been a gangrel, but no, most Kindred aren't. That's a very ferocious, almost wild-looking scar, wound on the back. Max would either think gangrel, lupine, or something else equally ferocious. And she turns back after she puts the cigarette out, and she says, and if you ever would like new artwork, my artists and I are all very capable and trained of doing so.
Yeah.
I have found it restrictive that our own bodies refuse our own personal expressions of art after being turned. But there are ways around it.
Well, thanks a lot. I'll keep that in mind. Hey, don't suppose you strike me as a lady who keeps her ear to the ground?
She does. She nods. Our kind have a habit of doing so.
Yeah. Don't suppose you know about another Nos by the name of Danoff by any chance?
There's very little hesitation between them. I am aware.
What's your take?
She almost looks to you like curiously, and she kind of returns the question to you in that, why are you asking?
Well, I met the fella myself a little while ago. Seems like an interesting sort. He had a few things to say.
I've met Danoff only less than a handful of times, but he is one of the only truly good Kindred I've met. And I mean that in a way that I only could have meant when I was mortal. He's a good man.
Yeah. That's kind of how I sussed him out, too.
If you've spoken with him, there must be a reason. She takes a moment. You don't understand. Alexander Danoff is a difficult man to get a hold of. Only those he wishes to speak with tend to find him.
Yeah, I got that impression. And for whatever reason, he was willing to talk to me.
She looks you up and down. You say whatever reason, but Max, our conversation has been more civil than most conversation I have with Kindred, especially those I haven't met.
Yeah, well, why be an asshole when you don't gotta be?
She just smiles. I think you and I will get along rather well. Max.
I hope so. Nice to meet you there, Edith.
You as well. And welcome to the Painted Lady. And she reaches into a small purse that sat on the couch nearby, and she pulls out just a small business card, and she hands it over to you. And you just see it says the Painted Lady, and underneath it, underneath it the address, and on the back as you flip it around, it's blank. It says an open invitation. Unless you're expected or welcome to the Painted Lady, you're not typically let in. This will ensure you're allowed in whenever you wish.
Thanks a lot.
One last question for my own curiosity.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Who was your sire?
Well.
And she gestures not so subtly and kind of like draws her fingers over to trace the edges of her own ears. I can't remember the last time I met somebody with similar deformations as myself.
Well, Don't suppose you got one of them Carpathian bloodlines, huh? Guy who made me, he always claimed that that's why we look the way we do. Never knew if it was horse shit or not.
She actually looks like she's not entirely sure. She raises an eyebrow. I've never brought it up with my sire before. I'd never really cared about the ancient goings-on of our people, if you want to call them that. More worry about our more modern knights trying to survive.
Well,
perhaps next time we come together, I'll have an answer for you.
Yeah. Well, to answer your question, I guess the smart play would be cagey here, but we just met, and I think I'd like to keep things honest. My sire, guy who made me, he went by the name of Gustav.
The immediate look of recognition, she nods. Yes. A businessman you cannot trust.
Well, he ain't nobody's worry no more.
Ah, I heard he gone missing.
Yeah. Well, maybe he'll stay that way, huh?
She kind of takes that and like gives a little smirk, and she goes, "Who knows? Rumors are rumors after all."
Yeah. Real nice to meet you there, Edith, and I guess we'll see you at the shindig.
I think you will. Have a great night, Max.
Yeah. So long.
And as you walk away, through the front door, out toward the streets, and finally back into the streets, making your way to the hotel, our camera blurs back again to that room. What was the scene we immediately left off on?
It was Duke finishing the band off on his arm.
So walk me step by step. We are here. He's tied off his arm. Duke approaches. The veins dripping in the viscous liquid hover 6 inches above the torpored body of Vera, still connected on one end to her body to a healthy vein. As Duke stands up, kind of steps up next to you, what do you do?
I'm going to start to take out just a couple of his own from his arm.
Okay, you can make me another vicissitude roll. Okay, you're a hunger 4. Can you make me a hunger frenzy check, please?
Oh, fuck.
There's blood in front of you. You crit, you succeed. Holy shit.
Okay, 2 successes.
Yep. Do you want to willpower 2 of those?
Yeah, probably should.
And you're trying to pull the vein the same way? I'm sorry, I got lost.
Just out of Duke's arm, I'm going to basically get two smaller veins from his.
Gotcha.
And I'm going to effectively try and bypass this in Vera's so that one's hooked up to Vera's to kind of replace it, and then I can then use that to kind of replace this section in Vera from Duke, and then like swap them out, basically.
Gotcha. So are you cutting out the poison vein entirely then?
I'm hoping to do it without cutting it. And that's for Duke.
So for 3, if you're just pulling 2 tiny veins out, it's success. Not that difficult at all. At the bottom of his wrist, your flesh begins to split as he draws, like mere millimeters above your skin, his own fingers pull an invisible string as your veins kind of pop out.
Then I'm going to connect one end to one part of the basically kind of around the poison system.
Yep. Go ahead and make me another vicissitude roll, as you're going to connect 2 separate bodies here. via veins.
I am really fucking hungry.
Yep, go ahead and make me another hunger frenzy check.
1.
In that moment, as you're about to connect the veins, you watch as Duke's vitae just ekes out. There's a moment where you're like, there's an urge. Fuck, you're hungry, but you swallow it. I'll allow you one decision here. You can give in to the frenzy. Give in. You already rolled. You can fail and accept the frenzy. Or Father can step in and save this whole thing.
Shaun's going to ask Father to step in and help.
As he reaches for the vein, Duke, he hesitates for a brief moment. He looks like he's thinking about something before his eyes. He doesn't turn from you or even get out of control. He simply turns to Vera's veins. And as he hovers his other hand over it, he doesn't begin. You actually watch as her veins begin to smolder. And you hear as Josh or Shaun begin saying, Flamma sacra, flamma pura, incinera vinum anima vestra, spiritus ignis adis purifica, carinis corruptum, in igne sanctifica. And in a moment, her veins catch fire. Smoke pours forth. But the smoke itself is thick. It begins to fill the ceiling, it pours to the ceiling, begins to pool up on the ceiling, filling your vision from the ceiling. But Shaun doesn't stop, finishing by saying, per sanguinum anticum, per vosum arcana, incinero malum vitas rubona, corpus renova, animam munda, ex cineris surget, virtus profunda. And in that moment, the smoke coalesces into a small, tight ball, flies down from the ceiling into the palm of Shaun's hand. And you watch as a flame spills from his chest, bursting from his shirt, encompassing his entire hand, burning it to its very bone. And as he lets go, take an aggravated damage, Shaun. As the fire clears, the vein itself, hovering healthily above her, slowly seeps back into the body, slowly moves within, and as it does reconnect, and our scene clears and pulls back. You were aware of all of that, Shaun. You were there. You were almost kind of part of it. It wasn't like he completely took over. It was more in your mind, if we were to kind of look at it from Shaun's perspective. He was guiding you, telling you what to do, telling you what to say. You may make me, Bub, an intelligence occult roll.
Can I use my specialty of blood magic?
No, it is not blood magic.
Okay.
It is called Runic Sorcery.
It's still a really good roll for me regardless. I will willpower.
Yes, you still have a very good roll here.
I will willpower.
4 successes. He clearly used a form of sorcery, but it is not... It's very similar to the language you've heard used in blood magic before. But unlike the actual chants from blood magic that are a language you don't understand, that was fucking Latin.
Right.
You understood that was a language that exists. And it was not blood magic, but it was certainly sorcery. But as Shaun turns and you see a big burnt hole in his shirt and his hand is slowly kind of regrowing. Shaun, you're going to be at 4 hunger. You're not going to have gone to 5. You're going to take 1 aggravated damage and Vera's poison is removed. At this moment, Max would probably step in. You actually just see Shaun's hand burnt down to its tendons. Vera looks okay. So does Duke for the most part. Other than he has his arm tourniqueted. And as Max walks in,
so Max walks into this. There's a brief pause. He's probably finishing a cigarette. He drops it on the floor and stubs it out, clears his throat.
So, what's the rumpus?
And as he says that, we cut to black, and we'll be back next time. Vera, remove the poison from your character sheet. You're cured.
Does that mean all aggravated damage I took via the poison?
Not all of it, but we'll remove the ones you took today from it.
So I only removed 1 today because I can only do it once a day.
So you're just going to remove 1, and then but you're not gaining anymore. You just heal normally at this point.
Okay, great.
And that's where we'll end it. Thank you guys so much for listening. We'll be back next week with bear with us as we get our schedules together because con season is chaos. But when we get back together, we'll get you another episode as soon as we can. We appreciate you. We love you. Goodbye.